With YouTube, there's a lot of challenges, and I'll be honest with you, I've been doing this so long that I've seen pretty much every challenge that creators face within some type of pattern. And usually they get stuck on one or two things, and before you know it, they get to really understand those two things, whatever those things are. And that's when it starts to click, and that's when true growth happens. Now, really excited today because we're gonna jump on and discuss how a creator came on, had one specific vision and mission with YouTube, and it evolved as he saw the opportunity and the landscape evolve with the creator economy, and then ultimately was able to get a channel monetized in 7 days. That's right, you heard me, 7 days. And honestly, what I'm excited about is a lot of people talk about, getting monetized in 7 days, but they don't tell you exactly what they did. Well, I know this guy, I know him really well, and he just says it how it is. He's not going to hold anything back, and so it's going to bring you so much value. But really love to know where you're from. Put it in the comments. And then also you want to stick around to the end of the interview, the end of this live stream, because we're going to give away a few tickets to VidSummit. And if you're not familiar with VidSummit, it's our 11th year. We'll be in Dallas, September 3rd through the 5th. And we have the biggest YouTubers and influencers come together, and we talk about the creator economy. We talk about things that are really pushing the needle. We talk about topics like this. And so really, really grateful for that. So you want to stick around at the end of the live stream. But I can tell you, I just love YouTube. I really do. At the end of the day, it's in my DNA, and I love what it represents. It really represents a lot of opportunity, and I love the connection portion of it. And ultimately, there's certain principles that you can learn regardless of your niche. If you learn these principles, they're human connection principles and audience development connection principles. And once you have these down, it helps you actually accelerate what you're trying to do, which is really impact the world with your content, and then also have a community that really enjoys your content. And I remember for me, seeing some great content out there. I remember videos I've seen 12 years ago on YouTube. I really do. And those videos can be moments in people's lives that have them think bigger, have them think smaller, have them think more intimate. There's a lot of great things. And so really, really excited for this live stream, for this. And then we're going to, like I said, at the end, we're going to do a giveaway, and we'll answer some questions and such. So we ready to go? Let me bring up my friend, John Malecki. How you doing, John?
I am doing great, Daryl. How are you?
Dude, I am doing fantastic because we got to spend some time together. You came out to me, and we got to spend a few days. And what I love is your evolution as a YouTube creator. So why don't you just share everybody kind of your background, and then how you got onto YouTube, and kind of your evolution.
Totally. So weirdly enough, my background has absolutely nothing to do with making videos or content. Growing up, I'm from Pittsburgh, PA, and we love our football here. So I grew up with that dream in mind. I just wanted to play football, and I was super fortunate to go to the University of Pittsburgh on a scholarship and play there and letter for 4 years, and then take my skills to the NFL for roughly about 4 more years, mostly playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bouncing around though, and going through that kind of a journey. In that time, I discovered how much I enjoyed building stuff. We needed a coffee table in one of the houses with a buddy I was living with. I picked up a few tools, made a table, was like, wow, this is pretty rewarding. And in the off season, you have a lot of downtime. So I started just building stuff in my last off season. When I got released for the 13th time,
not twice, but 13 times.
Yeah, and decided to more or less take my my life in a little bit of a different direction, get out of football, and retire, whatever you could call it that. I just started building stuff, and I started to actually post my builds and whatever I was doing on Facebook, and then soon Instagram after that. Long story short, that turned into how I was making a living shortly after that journey was done. And in that, I found community on Instagram where a lot of those people were on YouTube. And for me, I started to learn a ton from other creators on YouTube. There's a few big ones in the maker space. And so I essentially started a woodworking YouTube channel, mimicking and copying what everyone else was kind of doing out there, trying to figure out what this was about, with the goal of just getting attention from a few brands to maybe get some free tools to offset my costs on what it was to, you know, buy some tools and grow that side of the business. That journey started business-wise in about 10 years ago. I got on YouTube in 2017.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because a couple key things. You're a high performer, played professional sports. You needed some wood therapy, I guess, like some downtime.
You call it that.
You had some PTSD or something, so you found a passion, which is great. But that passion kind of kept you, you know, motivated to do things. You got excited to do things, and I think it was like, hey, this is cool. I can actually build something, and it, you know, it could start with nothing and kind of get it out the door.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that you found, from my point of view, is a community where you belonged, because you had that community with football, especially Steeler football. You know, growing up in Pittsburgh, I mean, that's pretty integrated, right?
Yes.
But you found another sub community out there, you know, where like-minded people had some general interests, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. I want to make this. Or how did you make that? That was really cool. And, you know, you started to see that energy, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of content creators miss out on, is they're like, I'm going to bring so much value. I'm going to put videos out, and they're going to love it. They're going to watch every one of my videos, and that's where it's going to go. And they missed the thing that brought you into being a YouTube creator, which is that sense of community. And then too, when you saw something, you're like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder if I can do that. And then you saw YouTubers that you're like, oh, you know, I'm going to try to do what they do, you know, maybe I can make a living at it. Maybe I can get some tools or some sponsorship out of it. So love it. And so that was 2017. And then tell me your journey, because I think a lot of people can relate, you know, just kind of the upload grind and trying to figure out ideas. Like, what was your process, if you even remember, back in 2017?
Yeah, I mean, it was awful. So one of the things about being a maker on YouTube, I mean, when you create stuff, is you got to create the stuff. And so to film the stuff you're creating, you're pretty much working two jobs. So I remember I bought like a Canon something 3Ti, something like that, like this small camera, because I know I needed a DSLR, and cell phones weren't good enough to shoot on that. And so 2014, around there, I started posting photos and whatnot on social, and then I grew into the YouTube side of things. Tripod, camera, audio's awful.
Yep.
No planning on whatever I was doing. I was kind of just filming whatever was going on in my life, and then hoping that the video would do well. From time to time, I'd throw out like what we call a shop project, which is something that it goes in everyone's shop. But I had really no structure, no plan. I was doing it because I thought, you know, I saw people winning on the platform, getting attention, and I was trying to convert my views and audience into customers. And it did start to help there. And then, like I said, started to get the attention of some brands. But I was pretty much just, you know, wake up, go to work, film whatever I'm doing, no plan, go home, upload it and then edit it, find the time to do that. The edits were garbage. My audio was garbage. You know, the quality of the videos were garbage. But it was like working two jobs back to back simultaneously for years, trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, I think everyone can understand that. I think when a lot of people start on YouTube, they have a job and they use YouTube as a job. So they feel like they have two jobs that are going on. And so they feel that grind. But I think the first big kind of thing that sticks out to me was you got pulled into this because of the community, and the first thing that you thought that you needed to do is do a transaction. Like, you know, this is a transaction. I want clients. I want customers. It's just like, really? Like, is that what you really want? But I think that equated to money, right? You're like, hey, if I get sponsorship and I can sell stuff, I can take that, reinvest it into something. So I don't think it's bad to do that, but I think you know, thinking about that, I know you now, and I know that you probably yell at yourself. It's not a transaction, it's community, right? Because communities will spur the transaction, right?
Right.
And so love that. So, so yeah, you're grinding, going away. There's real no strategy at all.
No.
Where did it start to shift for you? Because I see, creators, there's moments that it starts to shift because they start seeing a different way, and then they start to apply different decision makings to put more energy and effort into their content.
So weirdly enough for me, I started to grow a community around my more Instagram audience, with YouTube being like a sub product of it. Like YouTube was a little more difficult for me to figure out in those early days, but Instagram, I started to get the attention of some brands, and then I started to make friends on Instagram who were also in the maker space, woodworking space, that were making some money. They were working with partnerships and stuff, and I really started to approach it as an opportunity to grow my business, and not so much just be this thing that is on the like opposite side of whatever I'm trying to do with my builds. And so from there, it really started to click that I could make money making content on whatever platform it was. And so Instagram started to pick up brand deals and sponsorships. And I hit a certain point around 2018 where the money that I had coming in consistently from brand deals on YouTube and Instagram were more profitable than anything I could possibly build. And so I kind of made the shift mentally to being a creator with a YouTube and an Instagram channel.
So
What's funny is YouTube actually got me in the next up.
Yeah, so you thought out of necessity, I got to build stuff to sell it because that's the only way I can afford, because wood's expensive and tools and all that other stuff. And that's the only way.
Yeah.
And then when you realize, oh, wait, there's another avenue where I can create and get paid. That was kind of that first shift. And that doesn't mean you stop selling. It just meant you put less focus in on it.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't say less focus on selling, but more focus on content. And that's where I really started to try and upgrade my edits to be more visually appealing, make sure my audio was on point, like putting more hours into the actual videos. And if you go back and you want to be miserable and watch my early content, you can see distinctly, I noticed I got to a point where I started to hit a rhythm and started to see what could actually be performed, but I was still clueless in regards to the community. I was very much driven on the project I was building back in 2017, 18, even 19. Because it in my world where you're making stuff, that can be the driver for a lot of channels and creators. And I was just kind of seeing that and thought that was the answer.
Well, and I think there's certain things that motivate different types of people, right? If you look at the community of football, there's different aspects of football that get you excited, get you heated, get you passionate around it, right? So you can have these types of conversations. We even to this day, we can say Ravens, and there's certain people get certain mad, on this. It's just like you're having this visceral connection, right? But then it's also transactional too, right? So like if the Steelers, were playing, and you wanted to go, I mean, you're gonna pay a transaction to go have an experience with that community, and it'll deepen your relationship with that community. And I think there's a thing that I always like to look at when I look at YouTube is like, how are you gonna make money? Because money will help sustain your passion. And then as you put more time, energy, and effort into it, the shift happens. Now, I want to just say what I believe the shift was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the moment that you saw money in it, you realized that the product wasn't the project. The product was the video of the project. Is that correct?
Well, I wish I realized it when I saw the money, because I didn't realize it till I met you.
Okay.
And not to toot your horn, but like I have projects that were learning about community and the things that you've taught me that did well. They've got millions, or my most viewed video ever is still a video I did in 2018 that was solely focused on like the draw of the project itself. But then when the money did start coming in, I knew that video and that content over, building and selling custom furniture was the ticket. community was still something that I was just completely oblivious to, more or less, for those first few years, as I was calling myself a creator.
Yeah. And I want to just make sure that everybody that's on the live stream understands this is the point that a lot of you need to start to open your eyes and really understand what John's going to say next, because the journey led to start shifting his focus. And as he shifted his focus, more opportunity came and more growth came in different ways that he didn't even imagine. And then two, it's going to lead to how he got monetized on another channel in 7 days, and you want to hear that strategy.
Yeah.
So let's pick up. This is 2019. I believe we met in the summer of 2019. There's a couple things going on in my life. I decided to go away from one-on-one client work, and I was going to start going into group coaching around that time. And so I started opening up to do these 1 hour consults, which I never really did before, because I'm like, I don't got time. I'm working, with Mr. Beast or whatever, just going to do stuff. And I opened it up in the summer of 2019. You're one of those calls, and I'd like to, from my version, say what I heard, but I remember the first thing that you said was, my whole life I've been coached. The whole life I've been surrounded by coach. I only see what I see. I need someone else to tell me what I don't see, and coach me why they see it that way. And he goes, it led me from high school to college to play professional sports. I need this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, at least I know you're going to be coachable, whatever I say. And so let's talk about that moment of how I was trying to change your perception of YouTube, and let's dive right into it.
Yeah, I mean, the earliest sticky statement you made to me back then was that people aren't showing up to watch my videos for the project. They're showing up to come hang out in the shop with me. And I'd spin my chair around if I could, full 180 for me, because I always considered they were coming because I was making something cool. It never clicked to me that they liked John or my shop or the environment I built on video. And I had a videographer at the time who was with me for a while, and he didn't realize it either. When I said it to him, he's like, "Oh wow," and it was just boom, completely different psyche. And so from there, we started approaching our content, and you use the idea of Bob Ross. I'll never forget it. Is like, no one cared what Bob was painting. Still don't. They just showed up to put happy trees on a canvas and slap the paintbrush out of on his stand. And so whatever happened in my brain there, I was like, ooh, now we can start entertaining people around building things. We don't just have to focus on the project. And it broke my brain completely. And business and everything else aside, it really started to allow me to actually be myself. And I feel like when you're everyone gets on YouTube, they try to mimic and copy what's working for other people, and then they kind of find their own voice over time. I was in this two-headed arena where I was trying to do that with my building and my projects and get that experience, as well as I was trying to do it as a creator, find my own style and voice and all that, and building all these skill sets together. And at that moment in when you did my channel audit and assessment in late 2019, and then we jumped into the group coaching aspect of things, I really started to think about myself as more of a content creator who's there to entertain around the industry of woodworking or building or making or whatever, compared to being someone who builds things and then tries to make them entertaining. And so, that's a complete flip for me.
And I would say there's still an audience that people want the play-by-play, step-by-step.
100%.
They don't want connection. They just want instruction.
Yeah. And another thing that you pointed out was like, John, I can tell that you don't want to stop having fun to teach in these videos. There might be something there, in a different arena, but on video, you just want to show that you can have a blast building. And I was like, yes, I hate having to cut the 3/4 of an inch and then a 4-inch piece here. You're going to want to glue these together using this technique. And I was like, no, that's not me. I'm just having a blast. And you were like, well, the people showing up came to have a blast too. And I was like, huh. And so, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Like it was.
I can say this though. There's always hesitancy though when you're looking at it this way, because you're like, oh, I don't know if my audience will like this. You know,
Yeah.
I want to do this. I want to be
Yeah.
myself, but I don't know if they're gonna like it. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So, but I love it. I love it. So, so it started to kind of morph your understanding of why people show up on YouTube,
Yeah.
why they're watching videos, why they're connected. How did that translate into your strategy moving forward? I know we did a very in-depth audit, but like, what did it do to create different opportunities for you moving forward?
Yeah. And so first and foremost, it allowed me to start analyzing the viewer type that was showing up on my channel. And it gave me insight and knowledge to who they were. And I would start, or I should, I say it now because it's like years later, but I tried to start with audience first. I tried to start with content that I thought would entertain and bring joy into these people's lives before I even got to the idea. And that type of thought process really started to change the type of project we were building. And you look back on it and you're like, oh, this stuff looks great, John. And it was a lot of very run-of-the-mill custom builds or shop projects, or things that weren't pushing the limits or really getting me invigorated as well. But then I started to see that my audience is the individual who dreams of building cool stuff, who wants to someday be able to make this dream project, and they come through my lens to join me while I'm actually doing that. It opened up my brain to a world of different strategies that we could try on the channel that were around that box of woodworking or building and making things. Not so much just like, here's a table, here's how to build it, here's a video, right? It was like, what if I try 87 different techniques in this one single video and see which ones work? We'll turn it into a challenge. I'll include my employee. And right now we're getting into entertainment over actual physical project tutorial type stuff. So really opened up strategically a whole can of worms for us.
So coming on, you're drawn to the community. You were inspired by the community to create, and then you're like, ooh, I could document this. Maybe I can get some free tools and some sponsors. Started looking at other people in the space, mimicking them, kind of going through that. But then you had this pivotal moment was, oh, I need to be myself.
Yeah.
And I gotta get excited with the project. Like if I can't get up and get excited the project, it's gonna show, right?
Yeah.
And this is the whole reason why I'm doing it. And so having that shift, did you notice a shift in views? Did you lose views? Were you losing viewers? Were you getting some engagement that you were surprised by? What was going on the audience side?
So what was crazy about the audience is that I was fortunate that like right when I had met you, we had a couple projects for clients that we happened to film and make videos on.
Yep.
That did well. And so we were able to use that baseline analytics in order to build momentum moving forward with it. So analysis allowed us to then start looking deeper into audience connection, started looking deeper into what was going on in the comment section, subscriber growth and that kind of stuff. So I didn't have to like change really anything. I just had to narrow my focus to where we were already seeing wins. And for me, I'm invigorated by like the big, cool, fun projects. And so we basically looked at that and said, hey, this is what people are loving you doing. This is what you love doing. Why are you still doing the other stuff, right? Or trying it. Also, look how much more joy and excitement and passion the audience is bringing to the comment section, how many more subscribers your channel is pulling, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
On the videos where I was like, it was a 60-liter epoxy pour. I remember you looking at it, and I don't think you ever saw it up to that point.
No, I didn't.
Like, dude, what is this? And I was like, this is the future.
Yeah.
But we started focusing on those projects where I was pushing the limit as well as having a blast, and then seeing the audience respond to it, and started to focus on touch points and conversations, started actually leaning into my experience in the content compared to tutorial based content where I would, and I still do it to this day because it's true and it's me. But like, if I'm having any apprehensions or concerns, worries, fears, my emotional journey on a project, whether I'm confident or I'm not, that wasn't in the content before. And you really do see it when we started to make that shift
Yeah.
to audience focused content format.
Yeah, I remember when those two big projects came out and we were like going through the comments, and I think what surprised you at the time was there are people giving you ideas of videos to shoot. Where before they weren't doing that. It was like, great project, I'm going to do this on Saturday or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, no, you should try this. We want to see you do this next.
Yeah.
And I remember going through all those ideas. You're like, do this. We could do this one. I mean, you're getting some energy going on because it was like, oh, they loved it. They want to see more. They gave me an idea to do more. And that's an actually pretty good idea. This is something we should at least consider or do a variation of. And I knew that you started to lean into it, and where I think this is a really important point for everyone that's on the live stream. But where and how did you validate that the audience loved it? Besides comments, I mean, you can go through the comments, but when you look at a comment, how do you interpret what that comment really means of who you're actually making content for, and then how do you validate that? Like, how do you validate what they're saying? Is just, you know, because not everyone comments on videos.
No, and I think you know, for me, I'm a people person. Like I'm a pretty friendly guy. I like to have a good time, and I think that comes through in my content. When the comments shifted, like you said, from being, you know, great project, love the look, you know, well executed, well done, those kind of comments, to like commenting on specific things, whether I'm like, you know, mumbling a song in a video where I'm like, and then with the comments down below are like, dude, I totally know that that's a Tyler Childers song, right? Or, you know what I mean? They're connecting with me and seeing me because they see themselves through what I'm doing, right? The comments, and then those comments are getting more engagement on top of them, right? In regards to whatever conversation's being had. So more people are engaging with one another in the comments, and it's not just a stream of like, nice build, nice build, nice build, nice build. I started looking at that, and then I would actually start teasing concepts for future stuff, or like whatever. Like, you want to see me try this? Like, let me know. I have no idea what I'm doing, but you know, if you've got an idea, and then the comments would start coming in where people felt like, and still to this day feel like they can connect with me because I do a lot now of viewer-based engagement style content. But we started to see, you know, aspects of specific projects where they were commenting, very common threads or common ideas from video to video to video we started to study. And that could be whether it's material type or technique or my delivery, the pacing of the, you know, intro to the video to the outro, stuff like that. When the comments started to be a lot more like deep, we really started to know that we were picking up steam. Analytics aside, the people coming back again and again and again, you know, it was cool to see a lot of similar comments, a lot of similar active viewers.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I think this is something that most creators don't focus in on. They look at view count and we're successful. They look at 1 out of 10, we're successful, and both of those can be very deceptive, right?
Yeah.
Like very, very deceptive. And it can make you make decisions that might not be accurate based on your assumption of what's happening there.
Totally.
And there's a couple things that I noticed that prior to you figuring this out was you had a lot of people coming on, finding you through search.
Yeah.
And they would do the project, and it was a new viewer coming on. But they weren't watching another video. I mean, they might subscribe because like, oh, I like this guy, I like this project, I'm going to support him. But they don't come back and watch your other video because they weren't interested in that. They're only interested in the one.
Or I had nothing for them to watch.
You had nothing for them to watch, yeah. So and then when it shifted and it was more of a community focused, and it's okay. Look, you'll take on big projects. You're going to show the whole process, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna show them you're vulnerable, you know, and you'll mess up sometimes, and that's great. But once you went to that approach, then the new viewer, once they come on, they're like, oh, wait, I found this guy is pretty good, and then found another video that they loved. And before you know it, that new viewer turned into a returning viewer. And that returning viewer is the most powerful thing. It's like if that's the only metric that I look at is how many people find you, which is new viewers, and how many people are returning, and it's that returning viewer, and then how many people are converting from new viewer to returning viewer. And so let me just give you the ratio that I teach well, you know this because you're one of my students, but it's like for everybody else, it's like I like 80% of the videos to appeal to my active viewer. That's that returning viewer, right? So if 80% of them is engaging with that, and then 20% would go to the new viewer that would be more hilted towards that. But it can't be so disjointed that they don't like that 80%. It's just like, oh, no, we're going to broaden it out a little bit and kind of go from there. And you at that time had a pretty big split audience. And I think a lot of creators have this dilemma, right? You had the people that wanted the step-by-step, because that's what you used to do, John. You had the step-by-step, you sold plans, you had all this other stuff. Then you had this kind of not yet you, and then it was like, okay, bigger projects. And then you started doing some other things like buy a pallet of tools and, you're trying to see what's going on. And cause you're an entertainer now. Right. And so it's like, okay. And you had all different, all different types of viewers, and the ones over on this other side that wanted the step-by-step, they're like, John, you changed, like you're destroying, whatever. Like, how did you approach that? I know you were more happy because you're just basically being yourself, but did they still watch, or did you see attrition? Did you see them just kind of not watch your content anymore?
I think, when we made the switch to being more entertainment focused, we got the negative pushback. It wasn't really negative. It was just like, we missed this, right? And then you're like, oh, I'm sad for you. But like we would tease little parts of that back into stuff. And then what we actually started to do was approaching it more calculated as a business and then providing supplemental content for the details, right? So that was one thing that made sense for our brand is, you talked about plans. If I'm building something in a video and I have the opportunity to make a structured, rigid, detail-oriented plan, I'm going to drive you to there if you want that. So I'm still giving them value. And from the top level, I'm still going to make the content that feeds my soul, one. And two is bringing on more newer viewers to grow that audience, that 80% of the audience we're trying to, make happy with all of our content, as well as continue to allow the brand and the business to expand. And you got to remember, if you're building stuff, I can only build so many tables. There's only one or two creators in my entire niche that can build tables over and over and over again and still build community and get views. It's hard. And I get bored. I'm a millennial dude. I have ADD, so I want to go do all kinds of cool stuff. So with that being said, instead of abandoning them completely, we still try to leave threads of the old content in there with tips, with tricks, with supplemental products to feed that tutorial-based voice. As we started to progress outside of it, we started to see the potential to bring a lot new eyeballs into my brand, as well as into making and woodworking and building things in general. And so that's like the mission and vision of what we try to do here is to, inspire people to get their hands dirty. And so with that in mind, we just kept kind of broadening the opportunity for new eyeballs on the channel without completely abandoning our old audience. We abandoned our old style, but not the people who showed up for us.
And that's a great clarifier. And I want to go with this. And so there's some chat asking, what is it? The returning viewer, new viewer? We care about active viewers, returning viewers, and active viewer, new viewers, and there's kind of an engagement type thing. However, the 20% that we're wanting new viewers is new eyeballs coming in, and it's going to coincide with the people that love your stuff anyway, and they're like, oh, this is so great. But we just want them sharing out there. And so let's go to your Impossible Build series, because I think that was probably the boldest move from my perspective that you made, because it was just so outside the box of what you were doing. And it was a massive project. Don't get me wrong. I think it's still the same thing, but it was different. And I want to go through why that got new eyeballs. And how did you convert those new eyeballs into active viewers?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I broke my own mental strategic process from how I was previously developing video ideas. I allowed myself to no longer think I have to have a reason for this build, period. I just saw a cool video on interesting engineering. And if you watch that, My first one where I do a floating table, if you watch it, that's exactly what I tell you in the story, because that's what the viewer does. That's what everyone on the other side of the lens, when I make content, is for the most part doing. They see something cool, they want to make it. That's what the video was for me. So it was a different mindset. I didn't have a client or customer paying for it. I paid for it out of pocket. It was me going to a new place and discovering new systems around it. One. Two, I kept the through line of my style, my voice, and what I was doing. I didn't go from, it wasn't a completely new, like, all right, I'm going to, oh, I did try this, but that was a mistake. But I'm not going to go just start cooking all of a sudden, right? It's not like these people eat food. It's not a broad assumption. These people eat food. They're going to like me cooking, right? Because I did do that down the line because I'm nuts. But for that bucket specifically, people like to watch me build big, audacious things. I've had a couple winners on the channel before with project-focused stuff. Let's lean into the story here. I really want to try it because I think it's so cool, right? And then I build a table that looks like it's completely floating, tell a better story in it, and it attracts a whole bunch of new eyeballs. Now, to answer the second part of your question there, Daryl,
Could we focus on that before you transition to how you convert them over real quick?
Yeah.
Where did those new viewers come from? Because like it was pretty broad. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it was one of the bigger spikes that I see in a new viewership come in on your channel. Right. Like, where were they coming from?
So because of the project itself and a good title and thumb, YouTube was like, hey, this might appeal to this segment of people. And I started to get a ton more suggested views in regards. It could be engineers. It could be general interest in cool furniture, right? They don't necessarily have to be the hardcore woodworker in the shop. And that's another, level of my psyche that broke there and started to realize, wait, these don't have to be like the all enthralled and just woodworking viewer. I can start to get a lot wider with that baseline being, this dude's building stuff out of wood. And so YouTube started to see potential in viewers that were into, like I said, maybe crazy engineered things. Maybe they're into very cool, like home aesthetics, right? Maybe they're into just wild projects in general, things that like you break your brain. You could get into multiple categories with an idea, as long as that through line comes back to what your core and what your channel is about. And that's kind of the way to get new eyeballs.
Yeah.
And so that idea,
and two, when YouTube says, oh, here's something that there's a high probability that they'd actually like, let's get it in front of them. And it was packaged well. So you had a great title, thumbnail. And that opened up a new audience that creates these bumps. And if you ever see in the graph that your video goes along on the graph, then it just bumps up, that's when YouTube finds a new audience for it. It's not going to your old audience. It's not. It's already tried that. It worked, whatever. But it goes out to new eyeballs. And then if there's a video that's associated with it that's going to convert it, i.e. something similar that they just actually watched or something close to it, there's a high probability that they go from a new viewer to a returning viewer. But I also noticed that's when you started to creep on Reddit too. It's like they were showing off your project, saying, oh, check a look at this project, whatever. And that YouTube video was in a couple sub communities on Reddit, subreddits. And whether they loved you or hated you, it doesn't matter. It was like visibility, and it brought users on as well.
Yeah. And so the idea of what I was doing in the video had a broader appeal. It was still in line with what I do, how I do it, the voice of my channel, and it paid off my existing viewer basis. So YouTube was like, check. Let's get this in front of more people. Packaged well with a good title and made it appealing, and then having a good video behind it. That's the formula for YouTube to give you the thumbs up and start pumping impressions onto your stuff. And to your point, Facebook, Reddit, and video sharing platforms, that video is getting a ton of interest outside. It's featured in articles, it's in home design magazines, and that bucket itself is where I took it to the next level after that.
And that's what I love is you took a pretty big risk because you weren't getting a client to pay for this, is coming out of your pocket. But you're excited about it. You're like, ooh, this is really cool. It's like these impossible builds, right? And then it led to a video that YouTube found new audiences, and they came on, and you got a lot of press and pickup and whatever. So how did you convert that new viewer into a returning viewer? I don't think you converted everyone,
No.
but how did you get a good chunk of those people coming and wanting to watch more of your content?
So I changed the way I was thinking. And the way you got to look at that is like, there's a ton of great communities on YouTube that are specifically based around whatever's going on in that one video. And if you swing for the fence and you find something that's awesome and that video pops, what is that person who showed up for that video going to want to come back and watch? And so we asked ourselves that question. Are they going to want to watch me like give a tutorial on building on a dining table with breadboard ends? Like, probably not. They just watch me make a table literally float in midair. That's not, right. And so I was like, okay, well, how can I increase the ability for YouTube to understand who likes this content? So start with that content as a framework and then build my next project similar, right? Or build a project similar is where I started, and then make sure that, the cadence and delivery, the story, all that stuff in the same vein, not the same exact thing, but could then give that person another episode or opportunity to like my content and enjoy it. And so 21 days after I built the first one, I stepped it up a level and built another one. And then 21 days after that, I did another one. And then I just kept kind of going back to this concept that I knew people were enjoying. It is my obligation as a creator to do that for my viewers, right? I want them to have a good time. It's not about me, it's about them. And so that part is where I was able to start getting them to watch more and more content.
I want to underline it, highlight it, circle it, double star it. It's not about me, it's about them.
Yes.
That statement right there is that is a shift. I can't tell you how many creators come to me and like, I'm the best content creator on the planet, and I make the best videos, whatever. It's like I'm doing it. It's for me, me, and I'm like, wait. Like, no. This is a product, and there needs to be value, and if there is no value for the person that's watching it, they're going to leave. They're never going to come back. And so that value prop's really important, and then too, I think shifting. Where it wasn't a transaction, it was community, and then two, you had an obligation to this community, and you felt ownership of that obligation.
Yep.
That's when you started to have some great videos coming into the series. Yeah. And I can say that's when you kind of had the blinders off, kind of. I don't think it was fully yet. And I remember the conversation next was, I got to do these smaller projects. This is like killing me. Like my team, we're grinding away. And we talked about something that a lot of creators don't really talk about, which is low lift content. Correct. Because you need low lift content, regardless of what it is, because these big monumental projects are big, and not everyone can pull them off as consistent as they should. Yep. And so what was your ideas around, what was your kind of reasoning that you needed low lift? And then what was some of your ideas that you did?
So the reason I felt the need to find lower lift and less intense content was because I feel and I believe that I have an obligation to post as much content as I can for my audience. And we are one of the only maker channels or woodworkers, whatever you want to call me, that posts every single week. And it is a lot of work to get that done. And to do a project build every single week, the point we've been talking about previously was before I had kids. And so I just work more hours, right? But after, my wife and I had our first kid, my life started to change. And I was like, I can't be 16 hours a day in the shop every day of the week building stuff just to get a video out every single week. And then I also, looking at the data and the analytics, started to see that my average views per video were going down, and so was the quality of my content, because I was just forcing a lot of stuff. I wasn't able I was losing touch with the community. I wasn't building as good projects. We had some pivots in the business and yada, yada. So all that led to, hey, let's take a reset. Let's redefine who we're making our content for, what's growing the channel, what gets us fired up, what gets them fired up, and how can we find some easier things to do so we can still provide entertaining, valuable content on a weekly basis while doing big, audacious builds and inspiring people to get their hands dirty. And that's why we started to look for lower lifts. In order to do so, I got outside of my own way and started looking in other parts of the internet and seeing what was working for them. Weird.
No, I mean, it's great. And I think too, it was, that could work for our community. That could work. Let's talk about the pallet return series, because I think that's a very common thing. There's YouTubers that have done it before with Louis Vuitton bags and whatever. But when it came to you, what is, like, how long? Okay, first off, sorry, I got to reframe this. Like, how did you know it was a good idea? And then two, how did you know how to integrate it with your community that just been watching you and expect all this, these impossible builds and these bigger builds and so on and so forth. And then lastly, how long did it take you to actually shoot it? And comparatively with something else.
So the idea itself came from a suggestion from a successful YouTuber who she will be the biggest YouTuber in her space on the internet. And I was apprehensive because it was just different. Like, I was just afraid of the unknown. And I sat on the idea for like 8 months. And it got to a point where I was exhausted trying to build things that were going to drive the channel forward every single week. And we just gave it a shot. And so what we did, though, strategically was take the concept of buying a pallet of return something, applied it to our space specifically. Well, tools are used in every video. Most of the people watching my content, I can make the assumption, at least have a tiny understanding of tools or care about them. So we leaned into that. And then we chose a pop culture reference, you could call it, with Home Depot. I can't remember what the first one was. I think it was Home Depot.
I think it was Home Depot, yeah.
Yeah, and then we validated the idea by looking around in other industries and seeing how it was working for them. And it's a very successful concept. And I was, in all honesty, I was just excited about it. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, you can buy return tools and like maybe get some good stuff out of that. So I was I still am genuine. We still do this. Like, I love it. It's fun. And so because of that, my team and I kind of sat down, bullet pointed a rough framework, more or less. Pallet showed up, shot the video in 2 hours, and kind of went through the editing process, obviously a lot faster because there was way less footage and there was way less going into it. And came up with a title and thumbnail that we thought fit what was we were trying to portray in the video, and we put it out there, and it just out the gates just took off.
Why? I mean, this is really important because this is like different than anything else you've done.
Yes.
It literally happened. You got it all in a day instead of taking 21 days or a week or 2 weeks to do.
Right.
And why out of the gate was it the top performing? What was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah. I mean, data-wise, looking at it, we had a strong package. So, like, off the cuff, there's not many videos on the internet of people buying returned pallets of tools from Home Depot, especially that come from making things with the tools, right? There's channels that buy and return things and sell them, but that's not this world that, whatever. One. Two, I think we told a pretty darn good story inside of it, right? Like this, there wasn't just like, hey, I'm John, I'm buying. It was, I was emotionally roller coaster on that sucker the whole time. Yeah. And three, I think the proof of concept for the video actually working in other niches gave me the confidence to go into it knowing that there was potential for new audience members to find us and then come and see like, hey, this dude's pretty much a goofball, like, right? And I like him. Maybe we'll try some of his other content too. And so we think it came out the gate because of those three things, along with everyone knows what Home Depot is, right? And so we used a we used a hub there to kind of centralize YouTube's ability to go out there and be like, anyone's clicked the Home Depot video might be into this,
Yep.
and then use the data and then the understanding of what a good YouTube video is to go and reach.
But I would say this is the first moment that you saw the true viewer of what they actually wanted. Because you said before, I started to get it, and I'm developing and communicating differently with them. But you're still stuck in your own way, and it's like project. This wasn't a project. This literally wasn't a project.
No,
it was just like, I didn't know that they do free tools in the pallet at Home Depot. That I'm excited about that, because what am I going to get? What am I going to get? Because they don't tell you what you're going to get.
No.
You know, and so it's the human connection of curiosity. I wonder what he's going to get.
Yeah.
You know, and then two, it's pretty funny when you get the same thing over and over and over again. I want more. You know, I want something different. Whatever. Yeah. And it's that unboxing video on steroids, because you're just going through it, opening, and they're wishing, deeper, that you get what you want, but more importantly, it's fulfilling with something. They want tools. They want free tools. They want to build out their shop. You know, and so they're vicariously working with you, and so. It worked. It worked on the goal of a low lift video. Yeah, it cost you money to buy the pallet, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, it did, but it for amount of time, you got it done in a couple hours. To the shooting portion of the edit, it was even just faster than your normal edit. And you're good to go. Where the other one, you might have to take up to, sometimes weeks. 2 months to get a project done. But that shift was really interesting. First off, because it was the highest signal in your analytics that the returning viewer loved that content. And YouTube goes, oh my gosh, this is so good. The click rate's so high. The momentum's all there. And that's when they started to push it out to new audiences that are coming there. But I noticed too in your data that they came on, they still like the other stuff. Like they're starting to binge watch all that other stuff, and it was very cohesive. You did a toe in the water campaign. You proved it out to be true. You could do it again, and if you could do it again, then it's it was a solidified bucket.
Yep.
And I think this is around the time that you're like, okay, if we can do that, we can do barbecue and cook. Because you're like low lift, right? Community driven type stuff.
But kind of. We were trying some new stuff for sure, though.
Yeah, but talk about toe in the water. How do you introduce something? How do you validate it? Because that worked. And the things that you learned about your viewer. And I think a lot of people have all these ideas they want to create, and I'm like, that's not necessarily the right type of content for your channel. It hits at one type of viewer, but it doesn't hit all of them. Definitely love to talk about that.
Yeah, so you got to start out with a firm grasp on who's watching your content, right? Like defining, like we put a name to multiple avatars that we know watch our content. And are we relating everything we're doing on the channel to that person every single time, or starting with them? So if you start there, we've got back then when we started that bucket, Carl was the name of our avatar. We're like, well, Carl liked this video, and if we could check the boxes on a lot of those things, we then start moving the idea into kind of more of a production mindset. But you have to have a grasp of who you're making your content for already, and then who you want to make the content for with the new video idea before you even start. If you miss on that, that's where you're going to have an idea that you're just swinging for the fence that's going to fall flat. You're going to be disappointed. Or if it hits, it could be even worse because you're so disjointed from who your existing audience was. You immediately just created a fork, and it's going to make it really difficult to bring it all back in. So we started with a good understanding of who we were trying to make content for. We then looked at how we can use similar aspects of what works for us on our channel now in that piece of content. My voice, how I say things, my emotional journey, all that kind of stuff, pacing, intro, outro. We kept those frameworks and just applied them to this new idea to make sure that we weren't abandoning the people that show up every week to watch us with something that's completely different and unknown. So I didn't go from, back to like saying,
Right.
doing step-by-step tutorials or something.
Yeah. So would you say that if a video underperforms, you would just kind of write it off and say, okay, it was a bad idea, bucket? Or would you say, oh, I need to at least do it a couple times? Like, what do you do? Because like this is a thing, because I think a lot of people will do an idea and it doesn't work from their perspective, and then they don't do it again. How do you validate that experimental bucket? And how far do you take it before you say, okay, maybe it wasn't a good idea?
Yeah. So for us, we're gonna focus on, like you touched on, the packaging, right? Was it just a bad idea? And then from there, what's the title and thumbnail look like? Is that crystal clear what we're trying to do in this video based on what the idea is? And then from there, after that, we're looking at click-through rate. We're looking at average view duration. We're looking at the audience, and then we're going deeper into the audience demographics and psychographics, right? Are they in the same areas as our other audience members that watch our videos that do perform well, right? Or is it, completely in some other ballpark, right? Start to study what's going on in a winning piece of content and seeing if there's similarities to the losing piece of content, right? And then breaking that all out. What does the comment section look like? What is the average that the view per video? Are people going from this video to another video? And making sure that before we disqualify a bucket or a video idea, that we are analyzing that video first. For me, I really don't live in fear, and I make 52 videos a year, or at least try to. So I'm willing to do at least 3 tests on a bucket before I disqualify it. That way I can have a solid pool of data to do exactly what I just said, right before I take it off of a list.
The big thing though is the data that you looked at, because most people would just look at the views and say, oh, they hate it, and they look at a couple comments like, what are you doing? I don't understand this. And like, oh, they don't like, the people hate my guts, and they're not really looking at the true data, right? And it's just like, once you see the true data, then it's like you have a better probability for your next video to validate your hypothesis and make it better, and if it's the similar audience, it could just be bad packaging, or it's not enough draw something, which is great. Okay, so I know that we're quite a bit into this live stream. We haven't really got to the monetized in 7 days, but I think I wanted everyone to hear your journey, because as you started to understand the viewership and the way that you approach things, when you started something new, you approached it differently. And so let's talk about the time that you decided to start clustering your audience. That's where you have multiple channels, right? Yeah. You had an idea. And let's just have you take it from ideation, who you're speaking to launch. And I want to go over the strategy, because I think a lot of people can learn from you, the strategy that you took and why you thought that specific way, just so that they can have a really, really good understanding how YouTube works and how YouTube promotes. And then 2, more importantly, the freshness factor of a new channel.
Right. Gotcha. So going into, so in 2023 and about 6 months previous to that, we were going back to that bucket that you were just talking about. We call it our unboxing bucket, right? So we were doing large dream builds. We were doing shop projects. We were doing tips and tricks. We were doing the unboxing. And then we have another bucket where we test viral TikToks that my audience sends to me, whether they're in a listicle format or they're in an individual single crazy build format, right? So I've got more or less 5 buckets that we go back to consistently, and we'll try some new stuff here and there. So we have data, and we're coming into Q4 of last year, and I'm looking at how certain buckets and videos are performing. I'm analyzing the audience mostly behind all of it, right? You're going to have that surface level view, right? But then you're going to go deeper, and I'm looking at who's watching these videos. Can I find similarities from bucket to bucket to bucket to bucket? Because I went to VidSummit and listened to a fantastic talk from a few creators who are winning on a very high level, talking about doing exactly what you said, making sure you're paying off your active viewers 80% of your viewership should be coming on every video from those active viewers, reaching for 20% outside of it, more or less. And so I got real in the weeds on that. And I discovered that I had 2 buckets that were more or less not facilitating that 80%. One of them being the unboxing of the pallets. So I buy these used pallets. People loved them. The videos have, I mean, massive views. And we did about 8, 9 of them on the channel at the time, where I was able to analyze who's watching these and then literally compare it to who's watching everything else. Saw that they're kind of disjointed. I then went and did some other stuff that I could go into depth on for another hour that I won't right now, in order to give me a kind of proof of concept for showing what YouTube thought this audience was. But from there, I then had a third audience who was watching my tips videos. That those videos have millions of views as well. So they were performing well in a silo, but deeper diving into it, that audience was completely disjointed from what was going on in the rest of the channel. So the idea came to like, hey, can we spin this successful unboxing bucket off into its own channel so that it can live in its own place? Because not only were the views there, and then for the proof of the concept of the bucket itself, but the audience type was awesome, right? They were incredibly engaging. They were really fun and enjoyable to make content for. Still are. We still do it. And then what I also started to see was a discrepancy on the build videos, where people were like, hey, can you just stop doing this on this channel? Like, we'd love to just watch you build stuff, dude. I don't care to see you buy a pallet of tools. Meanwhile, I'm like, just don't watch that one then. But you don't want that as a creator. You don't want to make a video 1 week for one audience, 1 week for the next, 1 week for another one, and then whenever you get a chance, come back to that first. That's YouTube. And then if you think about an algorithm, doesn't like that. So the idea of spinning it off into its own channel kind of spurred. We had to go straight back to basics, defining who is this channel going to be for, what are they going to love, and then how can we make more content for them inside of it.
Okay, let's stop right there, because I want to stop right there. If there's anything that you need to write down, is that because once you start to understand that concept, that brings clarity on your content strategy, but more importantly, it's clarity of what you are going to do and what you're not going to do and what you're never going to do. And you're really honed in on the value proposition. And so, I mean, that's the whole reason why I sometimes take 6 to 8 months of research before I even launch a channel, is because, you know, that if you can do it right out of the gate and not confuse the viewer, i.e. the algorithm, you know, what's going on, it's just like, it's so much easier to grow. It's just like, it just blossoms. And so, so you spent quite a bit of information on your own data to say, oh, there is a difference between this. Here's the value proposition. They do like this. I like to do this too. It's fun. I get stuff from there. And let's go ahead and come up with the idea for a channel. And so let's talk about the strategy of the viewer, and then how it was going to be different from your other content. How it was going to be different from what's on the main channel.
So I think it's natural as a creator or a business owner or business person to just try and make things so complex. Like I don't know why, but you know, most times when you create complexity, things get way more difficult. And they tend to be a turnoff. So we forced ourselves to not do that. We went simple. We're like, in its simplest form, what is the difference between the John Malecki Builds channel and the potential second channel? And we were like, builds versus no builds. And that's where we started. We're like, only building on the Builds channel, and we're not building on the new channel. And with that mental clarity, it opened up more or less Pandora's box for concepts and ideas to start from. So now we have a clear definition of like, okay, there could be a lot of new audience members who are just into tools or things around the world of the workshop that have no ever desire to build a thing. And that's where the concept for the channel started, strategically with video ideation and bucket ideation with the winning bucket that we already had.
Okay, so I'm going to address the elephant in the room. This comes from Scott. Scott, thank you so much for giving this answer because I want to further clarify. So
Yeah.
the short answer is you already had views, so it made it easy to get a channel monetized in 7 days.
No.
So Scott, this gold play button right there, I got in 28 days. I had zero influence in that space, zero. And how I got a gold play button was I spent 8 months trying to do and get data and try to understand what John was doing on his own data set.
Yep.
And trying to understand who the viewer is and the value of the viewer, and then how to make me unique, and then knock it out of the gate. And then too, just for complete clarification, I probably did 16 videos that never saw the light of day because they weren't good enough to release yet. So there's a lot of work on that other side of getting it there. I know this to be true even with a Mr. Beast when he launched Beast Gaming. I know it very intimately. It was 6 months of trying to understand who the audience is,
Yep.
and then really getting very granular on the value proposition, what it's going to be. And so you can speed up the process if you already have content and there's also an audience with it. That's what John had, but it was not making a mistake on it. It was like, here is the viewer, here's the value proposition, and here is the case study that proves that this is the viewer that would actually like this content.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole gist of it. And then I want you to listen to what happens next, because if you really understand that if you're a student of YouTube, this next stage is where most of you go wrong when you're launching a channel. You're not thinking logistically about the viewer as detailed as John has done, and he's really looking at it from even a release cycle of how to hit it, but he's thinking about his audience, but also how YouTube works.
Yep.
And once you understand this, you can launch something proper, because most of you are just recording and uploading and praying that it hits. No, there's no praying on this one. It was like, we know our audience, we know the value. It's just a matter of time before they discover it. And when they discover it, they hit a gold mine. They're going to hit it, and they're going to see every single video because we know exactly what they're looking for. So do you want to kind of transition into it? I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen. I pulled up the channel here. But do you want to go with your launch strategy real quick on this?
Yeah. So launch strategy for this channel was based around cohesively my build channel. We knew we were shutting down the pallets and the return unboxings on my main channel. So to launch this channel, we announced it in our last build video ever, or excuse me, our last unboxing video on the main channel. And then we also had the Lowe's unboxing video that you see there is the first video we ever launched, ready to go on the second channel. So if they came and they showed up and they wanted more of that specific content type. Now, for me in this instance, it was a blessing to have a very rigid framework for the content I was doing that I could then plug in a new bucket on this second channel. But I took the concept of who that viewer was and I gave them more immediately. So same day we posted on both channels. Boom, boom. You come into that Lowe's was there. If they wanted to see more, I drove them right over. That was
okay. So I want to get clear. I want to get clear. You did not create the YouTube channel for 14 years and just hold on to it.
Correct.
You created a brand new YouTube channel.
Correct.
And you did all your stuff within a short window, and you uploaded your video. Didn't tell anybody, go subscribe to this channel and it's coming soon. No, you didn't.
No.
None of that, right?
No.
Why?
Because if you point people to a channel and there's nothing there for them, YouTube's going to be very turned off to serve that channel to them because they've never interacted with it. They've never watched a video. They've never commented, it's just a thing that's existing out into the world that they're like, hey, I don't know why this person's here. Right. And give them a reason to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if you have a huge influx of people coming and subscribing, you're thinking, oh, I'm getting all these subscribers. They're going to be notified when I launch my YouTube video. No. YouTube says, why are they subscribing to a channel that has 0 videos? Is this spam? Is this like, is this like bad acting, bots? Like, what's going on? Yeah. And they're trying to understand it. So anytime that YouTube's trying to understand what's going on, if it's not the normal behavior, it's going to flag it.
Right.
Okay, so that being said, no videos, no engagement. YouTube can't go do its thing.
Correct.
But you decided brand new channel, launch it, have one video ready to go, but you launched it at the same time. That traffic came over.
Yeah.
And did they watch both videos? Because here's the thing of when you upload to YouTube. YouTube's going to give you a little bit more love out of the gate. They just do. They're going to find, hey, I noticed that this pallet video might come on, and serve your other viewers. But you had an influx of viewers that loved it and they engaged with it. Let me see how many.
The only redeeming.
And it was a good video. It was probably one of your better videos out of the gate too. But you had 376,000, and then you had 500 comments. And I love the comments when you really go through this, and it's different people coming in at different times. But what did you do next? Because when you really break it down, John, anyone can launch a channel, launch a video, push the traffic.
Yeah.
But you did something different with your release schedule. Of how often you're releasing on the main channel, and then this channel, because now you're adding content in two different places.
Correct.
What was going through your mindset of what was the strategy to not rob Peter to pay Paul?
So yeah, if you can, you don't want to create competition with yourself. So I have a ton of peers and I'm constantly harping to them. You don't want to take the videos you've already done and launch a second channel with the same videos with a different something or other going on for the same audience. You're just creating competition with yourself. So what we did here was going with what you were saying before, give them something that they're going to want to see if you just brought them over, right? It's a new thing, flashy, YouTube likes it, new viewers like it, give them something. So we posted another video. So we post on Sundays. We posted the first video on Sunday. The next video came out Wednesday. And then we posted another video the following Sunday on an off week from the main channel.
So how many videos did you post within a 2-week period then?
3 or 4. So we posted in 7 days, we posted 3 videos. And that was where we were we knew that if we were able to drive those people over that were watching the unboxing videos and then give them more content that's similar, but not the same as my other channel. Yeah. Right? I would have never done that junk Temu drill video on my main channel ever. I knew it wouldn't be there. But new channel, let's test something. Let's give them a piece of content to make these people smile because they're into my new channel. But let's not do it on a day where we're posting on the main channel. So we're not creating competition with ourselves.
So at the beginning of the live stream, we talked about new viewers coming on and how sensitive both you and I are getting a new viewer to become a returning viewer.
Correct.
And so your strategy was, I want to release more content out of the gate. And what that's going to do is the people are going to come on and watch it. They're going to see the title thumbnail on their homepage just because they just watched this other one because YouTube's really sensitive of what they watch and what's in their watch history, right?
Yeah.
And they go on and watch that next video, and it's you, so they like it, and so they're like, okay, this is really really good, and they just watched 2 videos, and YouTube's going, wait. Here we had a new viewer come on this video, get a returning viewer on this one, and then we're going to push the second video out to a wider audience.
Correct.
And it went out to a wider audience, and the first place that it looked was for your main channel. It's like people that would watch your content normally, because it's like all the data they had was there's a lot of people that watch your channel, and a lot of people watch this new channel, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so let's go ahead and put it on the eyeballs of that. People would say, oh, John has a new video, and they click on it. They're not reading your channel name because it still says John Malecki, right?
Yep.
And they click on it, and they're like, oh, it's the same thing, right?
Yep.
And then what did it do? It literally started to compound where it changed a new viewer into a returning viewer, and then YouTube says, oh, this is a really, really great video. Let's get it in front of more eyeballs, the eyeballs in front of your ideal target avatar, because YouTube already knows the type of content they like. and also what the patterns of characteristics of that viewer, and it's getting in front of the right people, and that's what that goes on. And then you did the Temu one, which was, I'd never do this on my main channel. We need to distinguish ourselves differently on this channel, and we're going to do stuff differently. And if we don't do it early enough, then people will be turned off. But they need to know, no, we're going to be doing stuff like this all the time, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that third one. I bought band woodworking tools because if you look at all of them, it was progressively good views, better views, not so good views on the Temu, but it was, I think it's really important to do stuff like that. And then you had 775,000 on I bought band woodworking tools. Why is there more views on that one? And then two, on that journey, was that the video that you're pretty much, okay, I just proved that this concept worked, or, you know, what's going through your thought process?
Yeah. So, so first off, we came up with like 30 video ideas before launching the channel, knowing like, okay, what can we move? Where can we launch in the strategy of a brand new channel that's going to work? That's also going to more or less tease new ideas and concepts that we've never done before. Right. And so we are looking at it and going, if you have the pool of John Malecki audience from the main channel that's been around for years and they're getting bored, or they want to see me just do stuff with tools or whatever, how can we reinvigorate them? Okay, well, a video on band anything is a pretty good YouTube video idea, right? So we're like, we'll take what we think is a really good idea and try it on this new channel, very, very specifically in the framework of who we think this audience is based on, you know, the data and stuff that we have from the past. But we knew it worked when it came out the gate and just took off. I mean, it was performing just as well as my main channel content in the first 7 days. I mean, this is,
I recently tested.
Yeah, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about that because, like, it's a very rare thing to just have the stars align in heaven perfectly, and it performs. If you can release a video on a channel that you started and it's just performing almost equally to the main channel, it's a very hard feat. But it was because of, you knew the viewer, you knew the value, you tested it, you tested it even further, you had a lot of data on it, and you strategically went after one type of audience, not three, one. And you knew what that value point was. And so this one just kind of blew up. Comments blew up, everything blew up. But the cool thing about this was, this is the moment, guys, of when John was getting new people finding him that didn't even know John existed. You know, let's talk about that.
Yeah, YouTube realized that, oh, this isn't just a second channel for a YouTuber that has 1 million subs. This is a different audience. And that's why we made the channel, because we knew it was a different audience. And so it started to go find new eyeballs that are like, I've never seen this dude before. You know, a lot of comments. Who is this guy? I've never seen this guy before, right? And then they are going back because I have
3 videos.
And they could watch the other 3 videos. And then we're starting to see boom, boom, boom. And you watch the baseline views between videos just pick up immediately if you go into my analytics, which is the goal. It's the views between posts that can make you a career content creator, not posting days. And so all of us have the goal of getting views between posts, because if you're not, then you're not going to actually be able to sustain being a creator. So you have to have a catalog of quality content for that audience. And we knew that. And that's, and it also gives you clarity on what to make moving forward. And so this video coming out the gate and performing very strongly just gave us momentum and confidence to then continue to elevate the content strategy on this channel specifically. And we were already monetized and, you know, all the good stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff was happening there. But in data and in the analytics, you have your main channel, and you have you know, channels and videos that your audience watches, and so everybody watches that, right? And everyone's thinking, oh, if I'm making a new channel, it's going to have pretty much the same data. When I look at it, it's just like, it is not even in the same world of YouTube. It's like completely over here. And I'm like seeing some stuff, and I'm like, man, Like this is this is a whole new audience
Yeah.
that you weren't even tapping into because you couldn't, because you're so focused in on this other avatar, which is for your main channel, and I don't want to discount that at all. But you weren't the full potential in that area, and you weren't the full potential in the other area because you had a split audience.
Yeah.
You know, and so when this was coming out and you started to see it, and this one started to pop off, and YouTube started to promote it and says, "Who is this guy? I really like this stuff." And oh my, this, you know, barely found him. Wait, guys, he has another channel. They're like literally finding all this discussion. How does that change or reinforce your strategy? Because you had those 30 ideas before you started. You executed on 4. You're probably doing some other. Did you go right into leaving your strategy based on this, or did you? Or did you just stick with the plan?
Slight tweak, but we're sticking with the plan. You can see we've done 3 pallets on the channel already, right? So we have proof of concept, comes out the gate, you know, does decent. Do another one with the Harbor Freight pallet, really solid performer. This Sunday we just dropped an Ace pallet where I bought return tools. Like, so we're sticking to the strategy. This Sunday we're coming out with another 1-star
Ryan Trey.
Right. And that video actually hit trending. It was the 5th video we ever posted. And I've been on YouTube for years. I don't think I had maybe 1 or 2 videos ever hit trending, and that video hit trending. So that's a glamour matrix or metric or whatever. It doesn't, it's a nice nod like on the belt, right? Well, we were on trending, but the point being is that YouTube was like, this is good content.
Well, let me dispel trending rumors, and people think it's a curated list and all this other stuff. It's not. This is what I want you to know about trending. Trending, and trust me, I've every project I'm trying to get #1 trending, because it opens up the world in ways you can't ever imagine. But the trending tab is basically an algorithm that is looking for something that has broad appeal, like very broad appeal, not niche appeal. Okay, broad appeal. So it has all these different viewer types that would actually like that. That you'll see more content they trend every time because they have a unique viewer set. If you ever go to YouTube unlogged in, and you're going for the first time, no account, whatever, you're going to see the channels that have the biggest crossovers of wide viewership. That's what happens. That's just the way that it happens. And you're like, I'm just seeing the same channel. Well, that's because a lot of people watch it. When Mr. Beast started, it was like, hey, he had middle schoolers now. My mom's watching Mr. Beast now, and she's like in her 70s. It's like, like when you look at it, it's a wide audience. And so that is the trending tab. Now, the difference is not everyone's going to click on it, and YouTube realizes it, but there's a huge segmented audience that was there. In the beginning of the video, you said, "Oh, this is a video that like inspired you from Ryan Trahan, so we're gonna do this here." So it was like you had a crossover connection on it. Yeah, and this is like gold, like from my perspective. And so. Here you have very, very distinct channels, and you had a channel strategy, and it's working. And I'll say this: John just crossed 1 million subscribers the other day. Like, how long ago was it?
A month or so ago.
Month or so ago. This one will go a lot faster because he knows who his audience is. Yeah. He knows how to do that, and the data's already there. I mean, he hasn't. I know this might seem weird to say, but he hasn't even popped off yet. Like he hasn't. He's close. Yeah. He just needs to hit that a couple more times, and he just needs a little bit more consistency with that. And as soon as he does, it's a whole new ball game. Because he's getting ad sets from it. He has new opportunities for monetize that he didn't have on the other channel. And it's not this weird factor. And then too, the main channel is performing great too. It's just like, hey, you're out of the gate doing what you love where you need to do it. And then you're also looking, and I want to kind of say this because in a couple of weeks you're looking to do something else, to really cater to your audience. You want to talk about that at all, or is that still hush hush?
We haven't really talked about it anywhere else.
Okay, we need to keep it hush hush. We don't need to.
Okay.
We don't. Like
You'll have to subscribe.
I get it. I get it. But this is all the master plan, guys. Putting the right audience in the right place. That's the master plan, you know.
Correct.
And so, okay.
And so if you think audience first as a creator, to your point, Daryl, you know, you're going to be more successful than thinking, well, chasing views, like straight up. And that's what this has been.
Yeah, I would say that if you were to go back in time and realize that it's not about the project, it's about the person, it's about the viewer, and you have a product, if the viewer is going to like it or not, and then you have an obligation to that product that it's not. There's like, hey, if this person watched this one, they need to be able to want to watch this one. If not, you're just getting new viewers coming in. You can still succeed on YouTube that way.
You can.
I'm telling you can. But it's so much easier when you actually have an audience that loves it, and it's more about a community.
Totally.
And if you look at your community prior to now, you got people that it's like father son, you know, fans
families watching.
You know, they're coming knocking on your door. They want to have a beer. You know, this whole thing. And like, if I was to say, I mean, you're authentically you, but you know, you'll swear every once in a while. You get you know, going through that whole thing because you're just authentically you, right?
Yeah.
And moms are like, okay, it's still okay because dad does too. You know?
Yeah.
But going really focusing on the viewer is key, and then knowing why videos work, and what the mechanisms are in a video, because that's what you did out of the gate. And I've seen this with brand new channels coming on. They were able to do exactly what you did. In one video, they were able to monetize. You know, they were able to get, you know, millions of views in a short amount of time, like you. You don't need to have a built-in audience, but you need to know who your audience is.
Correct.
And you need to bring that value. So, you down to take some questions?
I'd love to.
And then we need to give away a couple VidSummit tickets. And so,
love it.
One of the things that we're going to do, so go ahead and put your questions in. One of the things we're going to do is this year at VidSummit, John's going to actually be a speaker. He's going to get on stage and yell at people, say, stop making crappy videos. And you can find all the information at vidsummit.com. We're actually releasing the schedule next week. I am really excited about this schedule release. It's the earliest we've ever released it. And I'm here to tell you, we already sold out 2 hotels. So it's going to go quick. You don't want to miss out on that. And so, John, what we're going to do is we're going to take some questions. And I'm going to let you pick, based on the questions that we pick, who's coming to VidSummit. So if you like it, you're like, ooh, this is a great thing. They come to VidSummit. And then you want to stick around because we'll do a drawing. We'll do a randomized. I want to do a randomized too. So we'll use the TubeBuddy tool. I'm sorry, not TubeBuddy, StreamYard tool to pick a winner. There we go. All right, so great. Let me see if we can get a good question here. Here's the question, and let me get rid of this other banner so I can read it easier. Okay. Question, Daryl and John. I've been a builder my whole life and started doing DIY woodworking channel a year ago. Lots of experience. Have a hard time doing what everyone else is doing. It's not for me. How would you communicate to this guy? Like what would you do? Because like everyone needs to find their lane.
Yeah. I mean, first piece of advice, don't worry about what everyone else is doing. You don't have being you is way more important for longevity as a creator than you can possibly comprehend. And it's also what's going to make you uniquely better, or your audience is going to enjoy and like more about you. So don't ignore that you're different, right? Actually lean into it. Be yourself. When you have a pool of saturated content creators doing all the same thing and everyone's just copying one another, it gets a little bit boring. If you look back in the day, I was one of the earlier guys that was being himself, and it's pretty it's pretty common nowadays in our space, but it wasn't back then. So first piece of advice, be yourself, and then think about the things that inherently make you different and allow those to come through in your content. Get practice being you on camera, and you'll watch the quality of your videos go up, the quality of your subscriber goes up, the quality of your comment section goes up, and the views, once you get better at packaging, coming up with better ideas for that audience, will start to come as well.
And I just want to reiterate, there's an audience for everyone. You just got to understand what you like, what you don't like. One of my favorite examples to share, when somebody says, you got to have all the best equipment in the world, you need to know blah, 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 you got to do this, whatever. And the jump cut edits, whatever. I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And I like to pull up a YouTube channel of this old cowboy that makes like 30-minute videos. He just like turns the camera on and just talks, smokes a cigar, and gives advice. And I'm like, there's an audience, but he knows who his audience is. He says it.
Yep.
You know, these young people that can't figure life out, well, it's okay. Life's not meant to be figured out. Like,
No.
I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
You know, but it's so great. So with you, just be yourself, but look at what people are enjoying about what you do, and say, okay, there must be more people like it. Is it the quality? Is it the step-by-step? Is it the breakdowns? Like, what is it? What is your value proposition? That's what you need to define. And once you have it, it's just like build on it and test things of saying, oh, there might be a segment. Like I have this guy that made a table for The Chosen. We did a collaboration with him, and he's a kind of a woodworker type guy. Made a first century table, but he would do these hour videos, and he wouldn't say a word in it. He would just go, just work, and people loved that. They didn't want to do woodworking. It was more just they got satisfaction out of seeing something be built. You know, and he just made sure it was really good sound and whatever. And so it's just really cool that you can do anything you want. You just need to figure out how does it provide value to someone, and then how can you be consistent in that value proposition? Correct. That's a great question. All right, here's a better question. How do you avoid burnout? Because come on, man.
So, I'm not. I'll just preface. I'm not a good person to ask this question to, because I'm an absolute bull of a human being. Like I almost don't even believe in burnout, because I truly do think that if you find something that you love, you will chase it until you can't chase anymore. And in doing that, burnout never comes to the surface if you're actually doing something you love. If you're trying to falsify your reality to tell you that you love this thing and that you should be doing it, you'll get burned out quickly. Win or loss, I love building stuff and I love making videos. And so we have rough spells. We just put a video out this week that, you know, it's a tough one. It's doing well. It's a great video, but there's some tough stuff going on with it. It doesn't feel good. And you take those lumps as much as you take your victories. Burning out for me comes from reactionary, type content creation. And let me say, I'll clarify with that. If you put a plan together and you simply execute on that plan based on, as a YouTuber, based on that audience, you're going to feel much more energized than if you start from scratch every single time you want to make a video. If you're like, oh, we need a video this week. Oh, we need a video this week. Oh, we need a video this week. It takes a lot more energy, and it takes a lot more mental stability to do that every single week. If you put that energy into a 1 or 2 day planning session for you, your team, or even if you're just yourself, and you come up with a strategy to make content for the next 3-6 months or whatever that might be, you're no longer going to have to deal with the mental burden of a weekly post, because you already know what you're going to be doing in the future, and it'll help mitigate burnout. But like I said, not the greatest person to talk about it, because I'm just going to bulldoze it regardless.
I think you actually, there's different personality types, and you and I, we just like to run people over. That's just what we do, right? Like we're going to take it. We're going to take an idea, and we're going to go until the idea is reality, right? But I think the common denominator of where it's around is passion. It's like when you figure out what you're passionate about, then that's where you're going to put your attention and your focus. I wake up early. I don't know why I do, but I wake up early, and when it's a work day, I just get excited, and I'm thinking of all the cool things I get to do.
Yeah.
instead of waking up says, I'm going to turn over because I'm just so depressed because I have to do this. Like, I get excited about this. And so one of the things that I will say that you would need to do is A, find your passion, and it should intertwine with your vision and mission. And then B, stop doing stuff that sucks away your passion. That's it.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't mean that the stuff shouldn't be done. I'm just saying maybe you don't need to do it. Maybe it should be more of a team approach, you know? And so
and your life should align with that as well, right?
Yeah,
if you're doing things outside of, what you do believe your passion is, you got to start to let a lot of that go if you are feeling, exhausted and burned out across the board. And it'll help you get realigned and help you get re-energized too.
Okay, next question. Fat Tested Travel. Okay, Jason, I love the name there, brother. Okay, I'm about to post my 1,000th video. Congrats, that's a pretty big feat. I'm going through editing old videos. Could you give any advice on optimizing old content?
Is this for me or you?
I'll let you take the first stab at it.
Okay,
sure.
So optimizing old content is tricky. So first and foremost, go and analyze your channel over the last 90 days. Look at the content that's actually bringing in viewers right now. How many of those videos are in that category of old videos from your standpoint? Then how much traffic? How much traffic, not necessarily how many views. This is important. Traffic, impressions, not views. Go look at the impressions that these videos are getting and then start tweaking thumbnails and titles to try and appeal to broader audiences or different audiences on the videos that are already getting traffic. You don't want to be honest, don't waste your time going back on old content if it's not performing and getting eyeballs, because just by tweaking a title and thumb, YouTube's not going to go, hey, we're going to start giving this impressions. It's not how it works, unfortunately. But if you're getting I don't know how to give you like a number basis because I don't know how big your channel is. But, for me, if I'm looking at a video and it's picked up 1,000 to 2,000 views in the last 48 and it's flatlined, I'll go in and I'll start tweaking titles and thumbnails to see if I can get some juice behind that piece of content. You also want to look at if you posted something recently that's picked up an old piece of content and is giving it any sort of new juice or new impressions, and then potentially consider tweaking that title and thumbnail.
Yep.
But be strategic about it. Don't just go back and say, hey, these are dead. Let's try some new stuff. Because if they're dead, just accept it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
if you love that video, can you make it better again? But don't waste time going back on dead stuff.
So I look at 1,000 videos of, sometimes that was kind of a repository of your upload. I don't know specifically, Jason, on that, but let me tell you, I don't like to try to reinvigorate content that hasn't performed, like what our brother here, John Malecki, says. But there is a trend happening right now that you might want to consider. And I actually showed John this trend last week or something like this, because I think it's really interesting for a lot of people. But you could repackage your video. And let me go ahead and show you this channel right here. So this guy spent 1 year farming from scratch. Okay. Look at that, 4.8 million views. And all it is a full video that was re-edited of his full year. And so maybe, Jason, you can go back and do that. I spent a full year traveling and whatever that is, and then you make a new cut on this. And so for me, there's a lot of opportunity to engage on this. But what you need to look at is what's the best use of your time? And then two, do you want it to live for the new audience? Then maybe you want to repackage it in a unique way. And that trend is pretty big right now. A lot of people, the reason why the trend's occurring is because a lot of people watch shorts now and they're craving for the longer form content. And so you're seeing a lot more of these video types that are 50 minutes to 2 hours long. So keep us in on this. We'll do a couple more questions here, and then we'll give away some tickets here. You okay on time?
Yeah.
Are you okay on time? Okay. Let's go here. We got some super chats coming in. Let me just do the super chats real quick. Appreciate you guys on this. It's so great. Andre, thank you so much. And the real deals. Yeah, thank you. Love it.
Nailed it there.
Yeah, let me pull in here. Okay. So Timothy was saying, what steps have you taken to improve your storytelling? Because you sucked at telling stories on videos before.
Oh, dude,
But
I still consider
Yeah.
I still consider myself to suck, right? But
Okay. Yeah.
So first and foremost, right? I think it is, as a human being, consuming more content with the intention of learning from it will help you become better at making content. Story being one of those facets, right? And so for me, I watch good storytellers. That's something that helps. Like I have no interest in a lot of the content I watch from like the title and thumbnail, but I do know that there are creators out there that tell great stories inside that so I'll watch that. That's one place.
So
Two,
let's talk, but let's talk about that real quick. Because some people will watch people in their niche.
yeah,
And I know there's a channel that you're watching, it's not even your audience, you're not your niche at all.
Yeah.
But they're really good storytelling, you know? And
Correct.
so like don't get so granular where like, oh, I'm only gonna do it with people that do stuff like me or the audiences that love it. No, humans are humans, and we're meant to tell stories and listen to stories because that's who we are.
Correct.
And there's different ways to do that, but there's elements that you can look at when that's what he's talking about. So
yeah, exactly. So start watching more YouTube. Daryl and I tell people this all the time when they're asking, you just need to watch more YouTube. Okay. 1, 2, read more books. If audiobooks or books that aren't like, I read a lot of business books, but I also read a lot of sci-fi fantasy. I like classic storytellers like, George R.R. Martin and Tolkien. And I like that kind of stuff. And they've, withstood the test of time because they're great stories from when they were written, especially like Tolkien and some older story-based fantasy novels and whatnot. That can help you subconsciously start to learn better story. And then also watch movies with the intention of learning about character and story development. Now, like Daryl and I were having dinner recently talking about Dune 2. Fantastic job of telling a great story. And that was already written as a great story, putting it on the screen. Usually they fail. They did a great job there, I think. But I learned that way. And then you can also buy resources. But I feel like buying resources, you have to mentally be prepared to learn. Like you have to know what a good story is to then take the resource and then apply it to the story to then ingest the knowledge behind it and learn from it. You're not going to just buy the resource and go, oh, this is, a classic, a hero's tale, right? You need to know what a hero's tale is in order to then define something as being a hero's journey, right? But if you can go and then take it and go, wow, every Marvel movie ever made has a hero's journey in it, and what a Marvel movie looks like to then apply that framework to it, you're going to grasp that concept much faster. So consume more content on YouTube, read more books if you can, watch movies with intention, and you'll become a better storyteller.
Yeah, and then Timothy too, there's games out there that you can play where there's these cards, storytelling cards that give you kind of the beats that you need to, and then it just helps you spontaneously tell stories using those beats and creating the curiosity. But at the end of the day, it's putting your lens on as the viewer of how do you bring them into the story, and then how do you provide value at that time. But then there's the shock and the awe. And so one of the assignments I'm going to give you, Timothy, because I've known you for forever, is just write down movies that you've seen and just do the whole list, just all the movies or TV shows that you love, and then go on the next line over and say the moments of that movie that made it great. And then go to the next column of how do they get to that moment? How do they lead to that moment? Because if you can reverse engineer how they led to that moment, that will help you tell a better story. Like one of the best things to do is a juxtaposition where it catches somebody off guard. That works very well. The reason why some shows work so well is because that last moment, they just pull the rug out and it warps your reality. And that was like Sixth Sense for me. Was I was in the movie theater and I thought this kid saw dead people, but sorry to ruin this for everybody, but if you haven't seen it, it's like too late, whatever. But it was a moment that who he was talking to was a dead person. And he's been dead the whole time. And you're like, wait, what? And you had to go rewatch that whole thing. That's really good storytelling, man. It really, really is. And then two, it's being true to how to get to that moment. And so if you're figuring out what are those moments that are achieving, how do they build up to those moments? And what type of emotion that you had in those moments. It could be disgust, it could be hatred, it could be enduring love. It could be whatever. It's just like, oh, it's so great. It could be shock and awe. Okay, well, how do they lead to it? And that's how you're going to do it. And I think if you could just find examples that spoke to you, then it's easier to recreate those for others. So, okay, two last ones. As your unboxing vids on your main channel still had high views, what specific data told you that it would appeal to a different viewer?
I'll breeze through. So this will be my talk at VidSummit, right? So if you want to get like in the weeds, that's where you're going to want to be.
So what you're saying is they get a ticket to come listen to you at VidSummit?
I think that they should. Yes.
Okay. So all you need to do is reach out to me on Twitter. We'll go connect with me there. I'm going to take a screenshot so you get the ticket. So go ahead, John. In a nutshell, what is your talk? So
nutshell. You can go into the analytics on YouTube and you can create what's called a group. Google how to do it if you don't know how. But from its most basic standpoint, take your channel's audience. It's going to have specific data for the channel. And then group a bunch of videos that are similar together and see what the differences are. That is, in a nutshell, what I did from a surface level here for this unboxing video. For us, massive discrepancies in age, viewer region, and this is a little bit more nuanced, but device type, right?
Yep.
My videos were a lot of mobile and cell phone. I build stuff. If you go onto these, you're getting a lot of TV viewership. That's interesting. We don't know, what it means more or less, but we do know that it's different. And that's kind of where I was able to define clearly that it's a different audience member. And then at VidSummit, I'll go into deep detail on how I actually strategically found that it wasn't the same person. And what I did in order to get me that information, I think you guys are going to find super valuable. But with all that being said, you start with that part. Well, who's watching this? And then can you create a bucket? What's the differences look like?
Yeah. So, and then two, congrats. You're going to have front row seats to VidSummit. If you can't come in person, we'll give you virtual passes. And all you need to do is reach out to me on Twitter, or X is now they call it.
Yeah.
You can just tag me, send me a message. If not, do Instagram. It's fine. And I'll connect you with my team and get you those free tickets, and you can go there. And John will be right there presenting on stage, which we're really excited about.
Make sure you come meet me. There's an app for VidSummit. Make sure
he has a beard, so you guys can talk. Okay, there we go.
I'm a head taller than everyone else.
Yeah. Okay, started an art channel focused on anime and stylized drawing, teaching fundamentals, and gained 50,000 followers in 6 months. Congrats, that's really cool. To build a community entertaining, what should I do? Draw with me, Bob Ross? ? Unsure what to do next.
So first thing I would say is like, what do you actually want to be doing, right? Because that is a very important question when you're trying to figure out where your channel should go. If all you want to do is make the stylized drawing and teaching fundamental content, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The opportunity to go deeper with your community in regards to that type of content does exist. It's highly specific, and you're not going to get the broad viewer basis that you could potentially get doing things outside of that framework. But if that's what you want to do, don't deviate from it just for the sake of chasing views and eyeballs. You can go deeper with that community in a multitude of ways. But if you want to be more entertaining, if that's where your heart is, if you're like, oh, I feel like I'm stuck in this box and I want to be more of a personality-based channel, start by introducing it to your existing framework. See how it's accepted. Gauge what the comments are like. How are people reacting to you telling jokes or sharing personal stories or sharing things in the content they're not used to seeing that they're showing up for every single week. If you think about Draw With Me and Bob Ross's style, he's teaching you how to paint, as well as including his own personal injection of personality into the content.
Yep.
With language, with mannerisms, with questions, with stories, that's where you want to start with that. Then if you want to go even broader to more entertaining, you'll have to take the world that you live in, art, let's say, and painting and drawing specifically, and then finding different ideas outside of just fundamental based teachings to then go and cultivate a wider community. But you have to be able to connect with them on a different level, right? My fans and my audience, if there's any in here right now, they know I like football, I drink beer, I drink bourbon, I cuss, I've got kids, I'm married, I love my team, even though some people think I hate them. And we build big, audacious things, but that's like my style and delivery, right?
Yeah.
That's what the community aspect of my channel is. And then guys want to hang out, and girls, like families come to hang out with me.
That's right.
And that's because I go deeper on, the stuff inside of the content. So you don't have to go in a completely different direction, to create community. You can just start being a little bit more yourself and bringing that stuff in. That's where touch points. People relate to people.
Yep.
And remind yourself, people relate to people. When you go and tell a story, that's what's relatable, not the painting necessarily.
So when I see this question, I might see it differently than most people. John really knocked it out of the park on talking about what you're passionate about, follow your passion, because that's where it all starts. I look at, it's not about an art channel. It's about anime. If you really look at it, and I don't know if that's where you got your start drawing, is you loved anime and you wanted to draw it, and you wanted to go through that. I don't know what that is because I don't know the specifics on it. But there is a lane of people that will just watch you draw anime because they love anime and they love the therapeutic portion of drawing. There's something cool to see something created. And so I probably wouldn't do a Draw With Me per se segment. What I would do is say, okay, what's your number one video on your channel that's consistently bringing you views? So you go into real-time analytics, see what that is. And then I want you to ask the question before you go in deeper, what is the value of that video? And I want you to write that down from your perspective. And then I want you to go into comments of that video and see what the value is based on the comments. And ultimately, it could be they liked a specific character that you're drawing that they're already connected to in that, and they're connected to that, and they wanted to see you create that. That's great. They probably didn't go there to learn how to draw. Some of them did, and some of them just might have gone on the other side. So you have to just see who's actually watching it based on their comments. And then keep in mind the ones that would actually respond would be, oh, love that tip. I didn't know about that tip, and it's fundamental based type stuff. They'll be a little bit more, I guess, communicative. They're going to communicate a little bit more, right? The other people just entertain, they watch it, whatever, and they might say, oh yeah, I love this character on anime. Draw this next. And so I would look at that and maybe do that to your top 3 videos, and then say, okay, is there a world that I could create that where we have the blend crossover of some type of popular anime that you're into, and bring into that world, going across that into drawing that if you want that fundamental teachings. Or it could be, oh, I'm gonna do fundamental teachings, but it's gonna also bring entertainment, and then it's gonna have that other X factor that's gonna bring in those subscribers. So the other question would be, did the 50,000 subscribers come from shorts? Did they come from long form? What you're trying to grow. I can totally see massive short channel exploding. If all you're doing is drawing anime characters, I can guarantee you that. I see it all the time. So ultimately, there's a lot of different directions. I'd probably go through this live stream again at the first part if you weren't there, because that was gold, of what you really need to do in that. So love it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We are, he says, no shorts posted. That's great. So if there's no shorts posted, Yeah, I do it because of anime then. Like I would lean in more anime world because that's where you got started.
Yeah,
So like that's what I did, brother. And then
huge
two,
natural draw there.
trust me when I say this, anime's big, bigger than you
Huge.
can ever imagine. And you probably already know that. Lean into it. Look at the popularity of the stuff and then create content within the realm. There's a lot of anime subreddits you can go to, and I would go into the anime world, not the drawing world, but the anime world, to see kind of what's polarizing, what's connections, so on and so forth, which is great. So, okay, let's do the drawing now because we did the other one. So if you put #VidSummit, you're going to get a ticket to come to VidSummit. This ticket will get you in. If you already have a ticket, you can give this ticket away to someone. We don't do returns. You know, you can bless somebody else's life. You can bring somebody with you. If you can't come, that ticket can convert into a virtual ticket. So go ahead. All you got to do is, and Doug will tell you this. Doug helps moderate this, and Chantel and John Pullum. But just use VidSummit. You don't have to put it in once. Like we. The software knows that you put it in there. They're not going to give you another entry. It goes once. So we're gonna let that curate a little bit. Get a few people there. I'm gonna go. I want to finish with this channel because I'm fascinated. You're passionate about anime. It got you to draw. People love anime. What is the strategy? I wouldn't change my strategy. I'd just go back into what's bringing in the views and then do a correlated video of what John said would be, I'm going to make a video. The people that like these 3 videos, what would a video that they'd like? And have some type of relation to it. So if there's a specific character, have that character in the new one.
Yep.
Because then there's some relational data. And then really look at it. And then 2, in your analytics, you can see when people drop off and when they disconnect. And if you don't talk, if it's just straight dying, if it's just minimal instruction, I would try to be a little bit more entertaining on that side, and then still have the instruction, and you can still see that. So, well, very good. Should we do the drawing? I guess let's do it.
I think.
And here we go.
I dig it. This is so cool.
This is the winner is. The winner is Luke Nightingale. Luke, you are coming to VidSummit. Congratulations on this. Super excited. You get to come see John in person. You also get to see a few people that you really want to know. We're launching our schedule next week. It's the best schedule we've ever had. It's
heavy.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I'm pumped to be a student.
Yeah, we're going to do one more ticket giveaway because I like to do the power of 3. Like we might as well. So we're going to do this again. So if you haven't put VidSummit in there, go ahead and put VidSummit and we'll do it one more time. But congratulations, Luke. And let's give this another second here. And let's do another one. Okay, ready? There we go. And the winner is Luke's in Japan. Good. You'll have to come to the United States. It'll be great. CJ Adventures, love that, love it. CJ, cool. Like if that's your name, I would assume that it is. You are coming to VidSummit. Really excited about that. All you guys, both you, Luke, and the other person, all you got to do is DM me on Twitter. I'll connect you with the team. Get your tickets. If you already have a ticket, we will. You can give it to somebody else, but you can't get a refund. We don't do that. We want to. Get VidSummit be bigger, and we want to bless people's lives. And if you're the one that's blessing lives, that's great. So really excited about that. I do want to end on this, John. It's been quite the journey. What is your last thoughts? What's your biggest advice for people? And how has it changed your perspective, along the way?
I would say outside of YouTube, outside of anything, outside of the very specific stuff we've been talking about here, I don't be afraid to chase your dreams. Since I've been a little kid, that's been pretty much the antithesis of my life, is just chasing dreams. I knew I wanted to play football at a young age. I chased it. till I was exhausted doing so. I know that I want to be a successful business owner and provide a high quality life for my family. And that's something that gets me out of bed every morning. I love making videos. I love building stuff. I'm constantly trying to improve and get better. And I don't live in fear of failure, because if you can't fail if you don't quit. And so from my perspective, don't be afraid to chase your dreams. Look in the mirror as often as you can, realizing that you always have the opportunity to grow and get better, and continue to learn. Whether you're, hiring coaches, you're reading books, you're watching videos like this to try and improve your process or whatnot. But if you're, Coach Tomlin used to he'd say to us, if you didn't get better today, you got worse. You don't stay the same. And so I look at my life and I try to get better every day. And I just don't live in fear of chasing my dreams. It's something that I think a lot of people know about me, and I think everyone would be a little bit happier if they got the opportunity to chase theirs. You can create those opportunities, and I think when you start to do so, the world will start to facilitate what you're doing if you've got a good heart and you're doing it the right way. So that would be my outside the box, I guess, life advice. And I hope that resonates with some of you guys and girls.
And I want to end on this. When you're passionate about what you love to do and you wake up and you get excited with that passion, the monetized side of this, if you're doing it right, is a game changer. It's a life changer.
Change your life.
One of my favorite comments that I get was, I just got this the other day and I just posted it on Twitter, but it's just like, we just paid off our house.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that when I'm coaching people. I just love it to hear that they're achieving their dreams faster. And so it's always sustainable if you're passionate about it and you get up and you're obsessed with it, of becoming better at your craft, because realistically we can all improve. And it's really about making the world a better place. And that's why I love YouTube. That's why I love this opportunity. John, thank you so much for jumping on. Appreciate it. Can't wait for your talk at VidSummit. And all those that are still on the fence coming to VidSummit, you don't want to miss out on this. Like, it literally is the conference where these bigger content creators that are doing it are sharing information with you. And the advice in the hallways and at dinners and all that other stuff is some of the best advice you could ever get, because it's people that understand what you're going through, understand the landmines that are out there, but they also show you kind of paths to succeed. And if you can put some of those paths together, or connect with someone that might help you, elevate that, that's what it's all about. So guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.